This is Stephanie Williams, popularly known as Medic, a 29-year-old Jamaican celebrity who would tragically be killed by gang members for cheating on her boyfriend in jail. On August 24, 2023, Stephanie's day began like any other, filled with the promise of opportunity. She believed she was heading to a professional photo shoot, a step forward in her career. Instead, it became the last journey she would ever take. She climbed into a vehicle driven by a stranger, unaware that every move had been carefully orchestrated. The mastermind? A man already behind bars for murder, her own fiancé, who managed her life and career from the shadows of a prison cell. But the most sinister twist was yet to come. For months, her body remained missing, her family left in agonizing uncertainty. And when her remains were finally discovered, the truth revealed was darker than anyone had feared. Before we uncover the terrifying truth that unfolded in a single moment, let's step back and explore how it all began. Stephanie Medic Williams was born on October 8, 1993 in Kingston, Jamaica. She was the beloved daughter of Millicent McCurdy, a mother who worked tirelessly to provide a better life for Stephanie, despite their challenging circumstances.
Let me tell you something, I'm gonna share my story with Jamaican because they need to know where I am coming from. I got pregnant at 16 years old. I have my 3 daughters who are like sisters. Stephanie, I suffered with Stephanie. I suffered with Stephanie. I didn't have food to eat. I am not from Westmoreland, you know, but I went to Westmoreland with my friend. And while I was there and I got pregnant, I have no one. I have to do any type of work.
Millicent's perseverance as a single mother shaped the woman Stephanie would become, resilient, driven, and compassionate.
So you want to play from it up? Let me hear.
Growing up, Stephanie attended Petersfield High School, where she immersed herself in the performing arts, singing in the choir, marching in the band, and even dancing in the school's dance troupe. She was a vibrant personality, engaging with her community through both her artistic talent and faith, often singing at the Church of God, which played an essential role in her upbringing. After high school, Stephanie initially pursued a career in nursing, spending 2 years studying to become a caregiver. However, her entrepreneurial spirit soon led her to switch. She switched to business studies, a field that piqued her interest more than anything else. Her passion for success ultimately guided her to a career in music, a path she embarked on in 2017, deferring her degree to chase her dreams. Stephanie's breakthrough in music wasn't just a career move.
It was a means of healing from a traumatic past. In a heart-wrenching interview in 2018, Stephanie revealed that from the age of 12 to 17, she had been sexually abused by her father, a secret she had hidden for years. The trauma had deeply affected her, but instead of letting it break her, Stephanie used it as fuel to rise above and help others. Through her music, she released a powerful track, Overcome, sharing her journey to healing, but her aim was clear: to give a voice to others who had suffered as she did. Entrepreneurial prowess didn't stop at music. In 2019, she founded Reborn Holistic, a company that specialized in creating natural personal care, skincare, and hair care products. What began as a personal solution to her own health concerns regarding conventional deodorants grew into a thriving business. She developed her products from scratch, starting in her kitchen, and eventually grew her brand into a respected name across Jamaica. Despite her rising success in both music and business, Stephanie's personal life was marked by secrecy. In 2017, she met Dwight Gale, a man who would become her fiancé, manager, and ultimately the cause of her tragic death. Dwight, known by his alias White Knight, wasn't like the other men she might have encountered in the entertainment world. He wasn't calling the shots from the comfort of a fancy office in Kingston. Instead, he was in prison, serving a 25-year sentence for murder. Yet despite his incarceration, White Knight held an iron grip over every aspect of Stephanie's career and life. Their relationship was anything but conventional, and over time it became clear that it was built on control, manipulation, and violence. While many saw Stephanie as an independent woman forging her own path, she was living under the shadow of a man who sought to control her from behind prison walls. Dwight Gale wasn't just managing her career, he was managing her life. And no one, not even her family, was aware of the full extent of his influence. On August 24, 2023, Stephanie Williams made what would tragically be her last phone call to her sister. Stephanie had told her sister, Janice, about her plans for the day. Initially, it was supposed to be a photo shoot in Ocho Rios, but that plan changed. Regardless, she was still going to go. Her career came first, as always. This was part of the rhythm of her life. She balanced work, family, and business with grace and dedication. But that afternoon, everything changed. At around 3 p.m., a car arrived at Stephanie's apartment. The driver was unfamiliar to her family and to Stephanie's management team. This was the first red flag. The vehicle pulled up outside her Mayfair apartment complex, and Stephanie, believing everything was business as usual, climbed in, still talking on the phone with her sister. A simple goodbye, and she was gone.
At first, everything seemed normal. The family and management assumed she was off to a routine photo shoot. But when the hours passed, the silence became unbearable. Calls went unanswered. Texts were unread. Stephanie, who had always been in constant contact with her family, suddenly disappeared. What followed was a series of unexplainable events that would lead to devastating revelations. The family tried to get answers from her management company, Navigator Entertainment, but the company had no record of any booking for a shoot on that day. As the days passed, the tension grew, but Stephanie's mother, Millicent McCurdy, refused to sit idly by. She launched a campaign to find her daughter, a mother's desperate plea that rang out across the country.
I am desperate. I'm seeking you to come on board with me. I need the nation. Mighty God, I need help. I need help. I'm looking to you.
The reward for information grew larger, and Millicent herself became a vocal force, publicly calling for help, reaching out to churches and the community to aid in the search. The initial investigation brought no answers, only more questions. Who was the driver? Where was Stephanie taken? No ransom calls came in, no notes demanding money. It was as though she had vanished into thin air. 6 months went by with no new leads, but Stephanie's disappearance wasn't just another missing person case. It was the result of a calculated act of vengeance and control, executed by someone who should have never had that power. As the hours turned into days and then weeks, the search for Stephanie intensified. But for Millicent McCurdy, the pain of waiting for answers was unbearable. As a mother, she had raised her daughter with love and devotion, and their daily communication had always been a source of comfort. But now, that connection had been severed, and nothing made sense. Stephanie, the woman who was always in touch, who never missed a call or a text, was gone, and there was no explanation for why. The silence spoke volumes. In those agonizing early days, Millicent turned to the media, begging anyone with information to come forward. Her desperation was palpable, and it resonated with the people of Jamaica. The nation rallied behind her as Stephanie's face appeared on TV screens, social media, and news outlets, a constant reminder that a mother's worst nightmare had come true. What makes this story even more unsettling is how little Stephanie's family truly knew about the man who held such control over her life. Despite being her fiancé and manager, he remained a shadowy figure to those closest to her.
Her mother, Millicent McCurdy, had never met him, not even once. She hadn't seen a single photograph of him, and their only interactions were through a handful of brief, infrequent phone calls. Stephanie had told her mother that White Knight lived overseas, specifically in England. It was a carefully crafted deception designed to keep her mother from probing too deeply or asking questions that might expose the truth. Millicent believed her daughter was in a relationship with a successful international manager who was helping to advance her career from abroad. Millicent announced a reward of 500,000 Jamaican dollars for any information that could lead to finding Stephanie. When that didn't immediately yield results, she doubled it to $1 million. Crime Stop matched the amount, bringing the total reward to $2 million. The reward for information grew, but despite the widespread attention, no one had any answers. No one knew where Stephanie was. The community stood by, hoping for any shred of news that would bring Stephanie home safely. But the case was stuck. The police were investigating, but their leads were limited. There was a glaring absence of any solid evidence. Surveillance footage from the Mayfair apartment complex did show the mysterious driver who picked up Stephanie, but the authorities couldn't identify the man. They had no idea who he was or where he had taken her. Every time the family pushed for answers, the investigation seemed to stall. As the months dragged on, Stephanie's family grew desperate. In February 2024, after Valentine's Day, when all seemed hopeless, there was a breakthrough. Police received a tip, a call that would finally push the investigation forward. They were led to a remote cane field in Wallen District, St. Catherine, a desolate area far from the main roads. It was an isolated spot, perfect for someone wanting to commit a crime and expect it to stay hidden for a long time. When the police arrived, their worst fears were confirmed.
Welcome back to Primetime News.
And a special welcome once again to our viewers on TVJ International in the Cayman Islands and online at onespotmedia.com.
Up first this evening, the search for a missing female resident of Retreat District in Glengough, St. Catherine has ended in tragedy.
On Wednesday, the 14th of February 2024, the skeletal remains of a body suspected to be that of Miss Stephanie Williams, O.C. Maddock, 29 years old, was found in a district known as Wallen in the parish of St. Catherine in a cane field. Miss Williams went missing on or about Thursday, the 24th of August 2023, and has not been seen since. A missing person report was made to the Constant Spring Police by the mother of Miss Williams. As a result of the report, the police commenced investigation into a missing person and possible murder. Several lines of inquiries were made and several persons interviewed and statement recorded. It is also to be noted that several case conferences were held and significant support was given by the Criminal Investigation CIB headquarters in Kingston.
Skeletal remains were discovered partially buried in the field. The scene was chilling, and the isolation of the location made it clear that the person responsible thought they could get away with this act without anyone finding out. But there, amidst the long, dry grass, was evidence that tied the remains to Stephanie Williams. Along with the skeletal remains, personal items were found, items that belonged to her. A gold chain, a gold bracelet, a pair of sneakers, and black tights. The family had described what Stephanie had been wearing on the day she went missing. The gold jewelry, the sneakers, and the black tights matched the description perfectly. It was a devastating confirmation. Stephanie Williams was gone. For Millicent McCurdy, this discovery was like a cruel blow. Her worst nightmare had come true. Her daughter, who had so much potential and so many dreams, was never coming home. The pain was unbearable, but there was still hope for justice. Despite everything, Stephanie's mother refused to give up. She had fought tirelessly for months to keep her daughter's case in the public eye, and now that fight was intensifying. But there was more to this case than just the tragic loss of a beloved daughter. The skeletal remains were carefully collected and sent for forensic analysis.
The body will be processed and compared with DNA sample to determine the true identity. The investigation continues in the matter. I'm appealing to anyone who may have information that can provide assistance to the police to call us at 119-311 and the nearest police station.
DNA testing was carried out to confirm the identity of the deceased. As expected, the results confirmed what no mother should ever have to hear. Stephanie Williams had been murdered. But the investigation didn't stop there. Detectives were piecing together the final pieces of the puzzle, and what they uncovered was even more chilling. Authorities had already suspected foul play from the start, but now they knew with certainty that Stephanie's murder was no accident. On February 20th, 2024, just days after the remains were discovered, law enforcement officials began to connect the dots. It became clear that Stephanie's fiancé, Dwight White Knight Gale, was involved in orchestrating the murder. Dwight Gale, who had been serving a 25-year sentence for murder, had orchestrated Stephanie's death from behind bars. White Knight, the man who had manipulated and controlled Stephanie's career from prison, had ordered her execution. The motive was rooted in his intense jealousy and control over her. Stephanie, as it turned out, had been planning to leave him. She had been trying to escape from his oppressive grip, but her escape would never come to fruition. Instead, White Knight ordered a hit on her life, setting everything in motion. The authorities learned that White Knight had arranged for Stephanie's death through a complex web of connections and individuals on the outside. Despite being behind bars, he had the resources, the power, and the reach to orchestrate such a brutal crime. He had used his influence to set a trap for Stephanie. He had disguised it as a professional photo shoot in Ocho Rios, a popular town in Jamaica known for its beautiful beaches. But this was all a lie, a carefully constructed bait meant to lure Stephanie into a deadly situation. The driver, whom no one recognized, picked Stephanie up on August 24, 2023, under the pretense of taking her to a studio session. Stephanie had no reason to suspect anything was wrong. She climbed into the car, still talking to her sister, thinking everything was business as usual. But instead of heading to a shoot, he would drive her to where her life would be taken. The driver took her to a remote cane field in St. Catherine, where the cold, calculated execution took place. Someone shot her in the head, ending her life in a brutal, efficient manner.
The police quickly shifted the investigation from a missing persons case to a homicide case, knowing they were dealing with something far more sinister. Law enforcement officials worked tirelessly to gather the evidence that would lead to the conviction of those responsible for Stephanie's murder, but they also faced significant challenges. Despite White Knight's being in the center of the murder, the investigation into who else was involved in the hit and how far the conspiracy reached was still ongoing. Evidence was collected, but the case was far from closed. Investigators knew they needed to build a strong case to ensure justice for Stephanie, but they also understood how difficult it would be to convict those responsible. The challenges were enormous. As the investigation continued into 2024, Stephanie's family found themselves waiting not only for justice, but for answers. They had been through months of agony, and now they had to endure even more uncertainty. In the months following Stephanie's murder, the Jamaican police faced a challenging investigation. While the case had been upgraded to homicide status, proving who was directly involved and gathering the evidence to ensure a solid conviction was no easy task. This was a case where every detail mattered. Every phone call, every piece of forensic evidence, every witness statement. The police worked tirelessly, trying to connect the dots and build a strong case against White Knight and anyone else involved. What was especially troubling was the possibility that Stephanie's murder was just one part of a larger criminal network. How had White Knight been able to manipulate people from behind bars? Was there corruption in the system that allowed him to maintain control over his outside associates? These were difficult questions to answer, but the authorities were determined to find out. As of June 2024, the investigation into Stephanie Williams' death is still ongoing. Police have identified multiple persons of interest and suspects, but no arrests have been made. The Jamaican Constabulary Force is working diligently to track down the individuals responsible for Stephanie's murder, but they face significant challenges. The contract hit was methodical and planned, with each step executed with chilling precision. Investigators are carefully piecing together the evidence: DNA profiles, ballistic reports, phone records, and financial transactions. Everything that will help them build a case strong enough to withstand scrutiny in court. Stephanie's mother, Millicent, had worked tirelessly to keep her daughter's name in the public eye, and her fight for justice continued. As for Stephanie's sister, Brittany Bryant, she had taken over Reborn Holistic, continuing her sister's legacy through the business Stephanie had worked so hard to build. Even as the investigation remains ongoing and the search for justice continues, Stephanie's legacy is far from forgotten. She had built an empire from her dreams and was on the cusp of greatness. Her journey from a childhood of trauma to becoming a successful entrepreneur, a survivor,
and a beacon of hope for others, had made a lasting impact. Her natural personal care line continues to thrive, and Stephanie's passion for advocating for those who had suffered as she had lived on through her family's work. As we continue to seek justice for Stephanie Williams, we must remember that her story is a testament to resilience, strength, and the importance of standing up against control, manipulation, and violence in any form. No one should have to live in fear, and no one should ever be made to feel as though their life is controlled by another. As for Stephanie's family, they continue to wait for justice. They've lived through unimaginable pain, but they have not given up. They know that Stephanie's death wasn't just a tragic end, it was the result of a web of manipulation and control that spanned far beyond her. Her story is one of survival, of overcoming personal demons, of striving for greatness against all odds, and it is a story that will continue to inspire, even in the face of unspeakable loss. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.